You're not conforming to the patterns of the world anymore. You're being transformed by the renewal of your mind. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In case you're new here, my name is Kim. This is Core Union. Happy Saturday. I know that some of you guys may be watching this on a different day, but today is Saturday, and I just am inspired to come on and share some information that I believe will be of some value and service for you guys. And obviously, most of my content is geared towards love and deep soul connections because that's what I'm impassioned about. I am doing this because I'm doing it for the love of it. I have walked the walk and talked the talk. I've been successful leveraging the law of assumption and manifesting wealth, homes, cars, success in my reality before I actually came here to teach, because I believe that I was meant to be a teacher, and I was aware of that when I was much younger. And so I used my life to basically create an experience, and it was successful. And I learned a lot through a lot of ups and downs, reverse engineering. So I've been to hell and back. I've manifested major wins. I've also manifested, obviously, the pitfalls that come along with that too. And I've rised up again and again and again, and each time just got stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's because I have an attitude that I refuse to allow the 3D circumstances, the experiences in my reality, no matter how painful they are. I refuse to allow myself to worship the circumstance. Instead, I worship the God within. I worship what's in my heart and soul, my kingdom of heaven, and I trust in that. In Romans 12:2 in scripture, do not be transformed by the patterns of these world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind, and then you will see God's pleasing will. From my perspective, God's pleasing will and what God wants in your life is what is in your heart and soul. That is the blueprint. That is what you were created and designed to do. And it means everything from what you emotionally feel, what you feel in terms of health, in terms of wealth, success in whatever endeavor you choose to do, and in love in all of your relationships. Your relationships should be of mutual value, respect, and caring, support. And so if you are not experiencing that in your reality, there's just something, an active program running within. So today I wanted to talk about I've had some random memories come up in my reality, and then some questions that some of my new clients have asked me by email. So it's just kind of a mix of these things. And I know that it's going to help somehow, even if it appears that I'm going all over the place. It really doesn't matter. I don't come on here with scripts and like read on a teleprompter the things that I want to say to you. I don't hook you guys in. I simply am sharing from what's in my soul. And I do believe that that's why a lot of you guys are drawn to my channel. And I also believe that's why a lot of you guys are getting and seeing a lot of transformation and success within you guys, because it's authentic, it's real, and it's genuine. All right. So before I get further into this, if you love me, please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. It helps my channel grow. I appreciate you for that. If you want me to be your coach to help you manifest any form of transformation in your reality, whether it's with your specific person or other areas of your life. We always usually end up talking about other areas in my clients' lives, and they do see changes. I've had clients who have won $1 million, had clients who have given themselves $80,000 increases, bonuses, promotions, buying their dream homes, and obviously being married now with their specific person, their mirror soul. Also, and this is like so many different circumstances. But the whole point of this video today is that circumstances only matter to the degree that we allow them to matter. So anyway, email a short description to kim@coreunion.com with what's going on. Then go to the website, coreunion.com, book whatever you want. My scheduling assistant, Olga, will get back to you as soon as possible. So I wanted to read quickly out of The Law and the Promise by Neville Goddard. This is out of the Reader, Chapter 4. There is no fiction. There is no fiction if an imaginal activity can produce a physical effect. Our physical world must be essentially imaginal. To prove this would require merely that we observe our imaginal activities and watch to see whether or not they produce corresponding external effects. If they do, then we must conclude that there is no fiction. Today's imaginal drama, fiction, would become tomorrow's fact. So today's drama, whatever kind of story that you're playing out in your mind, that because this and that happened, then it must mean this or that can't happen or will happen. It's conditional. It's taking the problems of the past, which were your previous manifestations based off of your consciousness back then, and you continue to copy and paste it, copy and paste it, copy and paste it onto from now, which we only have now. And so when we do that, we're essentially, even though it may look like different faces, different relationships, but over the years from adolescence to teenage to adult, through our different relationships and different experiences in all areas, we may see patterns. When you really start to look at your life, not from your old 3D identity, and instead you really start to look at it as this is a game, it's a simulation, it's a movie. And I'm going to listen to the script that was downloaded into me already, that the architect of all, the God, universe, source, creator, that flung stars into the sky with like no effort, that there are trillions of galaxies. Do you guys see all of the amazing things? Do you ever tap in and see the amazing things that they are even discovering to this day? The human conditioning, we can't fathom and can't even conceive of the power that created us. But here's the beauty. Just like Rumi says, we are not just the drop in the ocean, we are also the mighty ocean in the drop. All of that perfection, that divine intelligence, that perfect unconditional love is actually who you are. That's what you're made of. And so the ego personality is changeable. You're not sometimes when I talk to clients, for example, I just met with a client and we were talking about her basically giving herself love and choosing herself, and everything that she wants to see in her mirror soul, she needs to be that for herself. So if she wants her mirror soul to be committed to her and prioritize her and love her, then she needs to be committed to loving herself and prioritizing herself and her needs to stay balanced. And the reply that I got by email, so hopefully you're watching this and this will help you, is am I doing that and choosing myself from my higher self or my ego persona? So there's just a little bit of a nuance here that we want to address. You are changing your ego identity. You're not conforming to the patterns of the world anymore. You're being transformed by the renewal of your mind, creating your new identity, the vessel, the character. Your ego will constantly recreate itself, and not necessarily when it's on autopilot, it won't necessarily recreate itself in a form of who you actually truly want to be. It will constantly be taking in all of the, bits, millions and millions of bits of information every second. That's just how it is. And when we're living on autopilot, then we are essentially allowing the world to shape us. When we instead make a decision to transform within the ego and change the ego, change the identity, be who we truly want to be, who we feel deep down in our heart and soul, who the architect created us as already, then we're shedding the old identity. So you are essentially, it is you. You are changing yourself. You're changing the ego persona. You're letting go of the old identity. You're letting it go. You're abandoning the old identity. You guys have heard the the old Cherokee legend where the grandfather was sitting with the grandson and he said, everyone has two wolves within them. One is evil and one is good. There's a fight going on within us all the time. This isn't verbatim, but this is just from memory. So the grandson says, then grandfather, which wolf will win? And the grandfather says, the one that you feed. So stop feeding the old identity of not being worthy, not being good enough, not being seen, not being heard, not being trusted, not being supported, not being believed in. Sometimes these things are stemmed from growing up and we're not aware of it. And there can be really subtle things that can happen. Then other times people have really been abused in really horrific, horrible ways. But that's not who you are today. That is something that happened growing up. But it doesn't dictate who you are now and what you get to have and the love that you get to have. But you have to accept yourself and love yourself and forgive yourself. Okay? Forgive yourself for not knowing who you truly were. So the examples that I wanted to bring up today, they just came into my head. There was a woman that I had worked with when I had my interior design business, and this was the business that I told you, guys. I had no experience. A, I didn't have a single hour of schooling. I didn't have a single hour of retail experience. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was attracted to and drawn to interior design because I love interior design. And I was in technology, and then I was laid off, and then I ended up in a position, and this is where I was already starting to understand more of my reality reflecting me back to me. So this would have been way back, God, early 2000s, like 2000, whatever the year was, maybe 2004, 2003 or something like that. Anyway, so I got this job that I was tired of being laid off. I got this job for a major hospital network. There was a IT department supporting at the time 4,000 users or so. Anyway, I ended up being the right hand of the CIO, and she was just straight up. I mean, she was a very powerful, strong woman, very stoic, very intimidating, and she was pretty much abusive too. And but it's okay. I decided that I was going to, no matter what, I was like, I love this job. It paid well. I knew that it was secure, and I didn't feel like being laid off anymore. It was beneath me in terms of my technical experience, but I didn't let my ego get to me there because I felt drawn to this. I felt I was supposed to be here because it was a bridge. Anyway, I ended up completely seeing this woman different with me. And I chose and I continued to choose, no matter how many times I would have to face her, being straight up mean to me. And she even said one day, she said, it's like you're she said, it's like you are an abused puppy. And that was kind of how I was. I really loved to be to myself. I was very much introverted. And so, anyway, this position pulled me out of my shell, and it also honed my skills and allowing myself to see myself as being valued, loved, appreciated, supportive. And I had a major, massive transformation working here. I ended up becoming a almost like a bodybuilder. My weight was exactly, my body was in a way how I never even at the time years ago believed that I could get to. So I transformed everything. I knew that the relationship that I was in at that time also wasn't what I wanted. So anyway, through the 4 years of working for this person, I ended up changing how I saw myself. I transformed my entire life. Her and I ended up being incredibly, very close. We had a very tight and close bond. She really meant the world to me. I meant the world to her too. And even what's funny, years later, when I had the interior design business, and it was at this point, it had already been award winning. At this point, I had been making over $100,000 a month. I was talking about this previous boss to a client of mine. And I was just like sharing how much of an impact it was in my life. And my boss, my previous boss, who I hadn't seen in years, I was talking about it with so much passion. She instantly walked into the store. She walked right into the store. And I had been telling the client of mine the story similar to what I just said, but I was telling her more in detail of just how I had such a massive transformation. And I was so incredibly grateful because she was a catalyst of that, because she basically showed me that I didn't know my value and worth by treating me in a very disrespectful way. But I didn't accept it. It showed me how to value myself, how to love myself. And it also showed me how to choose and select a version of her who reflected that value, support, and love back to me. And she did. And so there she was, and she walked right into the store, and it was one of those moments where I actually felt a little like, is this even real? And I looked at my clients, I was like, that's her. And she was like, and I was like, that is her. This is my old boss. So I got up and I forgot all about my client. And I just went up to my previous boss, and I gave her a big hug and everything. And then I finished with my client, and then we spent time and we chatted a little bit. She was there with her husband. It was just a phenomenal instant manifestation, showing just really showing how, life can be, life is such a precise mirror. But anyway, along those lines, I wanted to also talk about when we are so fearful of delays, when we're so stuck on the time and we're worried so much about not having something, and we have such a tight grip on fearing this is taking so long and how much longer is this going to take, we literally are expanding the timeline and causing delays from that very level of consciousness, because when you have this, you're not actually embodying understanding who you are in your reality and understanding who your divine messengers are. Okay, so with your mirror soul, if you're really worried about the time element, and I know some of you guys came into the law of assumption after maybe trying to manifest your person for, years, but you're going to have to drop and let go of the old self concept of when you didn't realize who you were, you didn't know what life was, you didn't realize what consciousness was, you didn't realize that your reality was your consciousness. So I promise you, you can just let go and forgive yourself for not knowing your power back then and let go of the time element. There are two stories I want to tell you. There was a client who was so anxious, so worrisome. And I mean, relatively, she was a little negative Nelly. So, anyway, she placed an order for herself. I've told the story before, but I think it's so powerful and I thought about it. So, obviously, this will help some of you guys. There's an obvious reason why I'm thinking about it. So, I'm sharing it with you because it was random, but somebody needs to hear this. She was so okay. So, you have to take from my perspective. I have this like incredibly busy, successful business. And, the majority of clients are coming in and they're chill and they're just like placing their orders. They're falling in love with my store. They're falling in love with me as an interior designer, not in a romantic way. And we're just like, we're having fun. And all sorts of money's coming in left and right. And they know that the furniture has to be produced. They know it needs to be made. And most of them are like, that's okay. So if there's going to be delays or whatever, if I say, okay, oh, okay, this will be like 8 to 10 weeks for this, then maybe 10 to 12 weeks for that. They're like, it'll come when it comes. I'm not worried about it. And those clients, a lot of times their orders would come in quicker than expected. Now, with this one particular negative Nelly that I wanted to talk about, all love and light to her, she was nagging me constantly. She was constantly nagging me, coming into the store, emailing, calling. And like, if let's say, for example, I told her 8 to 10 weeks, I don't remember exactly what it was. She's calling me days after, a couple weeks after. What's the status? What's the status? What's the status? And I told her really clearly, I said, okay, listen, I understand that things in your life have been delays and you've experienced this before, but if you don't let go of that and you keep worrying about this right now, it's going to cause a delay. And I know this for a fact. And that ended up being something that I would share with people when they were a little nervous. And then usually they would just let go and okay, I get it. I'll wait. I'll be fine. When the time came when her order was supposed to be shipped, let's pretend that there was 10, 20, 30 other customers' orders, because we would obviously get giant shipments of people's orders coming to us. When I actually saw what ended up leaving the manufacturer, her sofa wasn't on, even though it was scheduled that day to ship with everyone else's. So, of course, I'm like, great. And I understood what was happening. I reached out to the manufacturer and they said there was a part missing. So there was a delay. So now I had to explain this to her. So I explained it to her. Again, of course, she wasn't happy. This kept happening. There kept being little delays here and there with just her order, no one else's, to the degree that when it finally did leave the factory, the tractor trailer that had her order on it, like oh my God, I couldn't believe this. They ended up reporting to me that the tractor trailer, the motor literally fell out somewhere around New York City. So from North Carolina to New York, there was a problem with the engine. Something fell out. That literally caused another couple of weeks of a delay because they had to send out another trailer to get the furniture that was loaded on that, bring it back to North Carolina. And then there's this big thing where there are like hundreds, if not thousands of tractor trailers constantly moving in and out. So it was going to be another couple of weeks before the trailer was going to come to my area. She finally realized when I tried to explain to her, this is a pattern that you have to stop doing with everything in your life because this is what causes delays. And this didn't happen with anyone else. And she said, well, it's my luck. No, it's not your luck. It's your attitude. It's your belief. It's what you expect. It's your expectation. I had a client who had designed her entire home with me. So bedrooms, dining room, kitchen, it was beautiful, living room. There were these two leather chairs that were one of my most popular items. They were beautiful, adorable. She ordered a couple of them. Right when they were supposed to ship, I ended up getting a call from the manufacturer. And they apologized to me. And I said, what's going on? And they apologized to me. And they said, we're sorry, but these chairs are never going to be available again. They're no longer being produced. We're not going to be able to fulfill this order. And so I'm freaking out because I'm expecting to be able to do the installation of all of my clients' furniture, including these chairs, which she's already paid me for, which I already paid the manufacturer for. And now they're telling me they can't supply it. So it's not about the money. This is about my client's happiness because she's an amazing client and I don't want to disappoint her. So initially I reacted and I was pissed off and I was angry, but I caught myself. My assistant is there and he's looking at me like jaw dropped. And he's like, what are you going to do? And so I had hung up the phone and I said, I have no idea, but somehow this is going to work out. I don't know how, but somehow this is going to work. And so I was flustered. I had to go in the back. I did some deep breathing. I kind of shook my body a little bit. And I just kept saying, I know that this is going to work somehow, some way. This is going to be okay. And so then I had to let it go. And then I said, let's just listen to some music. And we started listening to music and I started distracting myself. And then I don't know how much time passed by, but I ended up having just obviously the thought just came into my mind. Hold on. This particular chair is an iconic reproduction of an old famous Parisian club chair that's very popular in the interior design world, in the furniture industry. I'm just going to start looking. So I start looking at different manufacturers. I'm just like, no, I know this is going to work. And I'm having this attitude like, nope, this is going to work. And then while I'm looking at the manufacturers, by the way, I'm having fun imagining, oh, I love that. I love that. And I'm just imagining and enjoying doing it for the pleasure of it. Nothing comes out of it. But within a couple days, a young man comes into my showroom dressed in a suit. He comes up and he asks for the owner. Now, normally I would tell the person I wasn't interested because I knew that they were furniture reps and I didn't like it when people just dropped in on me because I felt that was disrespectful. I wanted, like, if you want to meet with me, you have to like value my time because I might be busy with clients. It was just a thing that I had back then. And I know it was a manifestation. So you guys don't have to tell me that in the comments. But this time I had a very good feeling about him. So I introduced myself and he introduced himself. He told me the manufacturer that he was from. And then, of course, the chairs pop into my mind. And I said, hey, do you happen to have a chair like this? And I show him the picture from my website of the chair that the client had bought. And he said, actually we do. And he flipped to the page. And it was practically the same chair. It was the same scale. It was the same shape. So I asked him some questions and I told him, if I just wanted to order a couple of these for a client without ordering for the store, would you be able to do that for me? He said, well, normally we need a certain amount of buy-in, but I think I could do that for you. I explained the situation. If you end up needing it, I'll make it happen for you. I was like, awesome, thank you. It was probably the next day or so. I'm having a meeting with my assistant and my 2 delivery drivers. When we saw the loads of furniture that were coming in, my assistant, this was like the system that I created that made everything like super cohesive, that prevented mistakes. And it's one of the ways that we were running so smoothly with such a small amount of people, just me, my assistant, and 2 delivery drivers. We would create tags for all of the furniture items that had the picture of what they ordered and the customer's name. So my delivery driver said, hey, by the way, I have to show you a picture of a couple leather chairs that just came in, but we didn't have a tag for it. So I was like, okay, this is really weird. So they showed me the picture, and it was the 2 leather chairs that we were told they were never going to be here. They didn't exist anymore. They were never going to be available. They did not have them. So do you see how I just didn't allow myself to get stuck in the circumstance? I didn't accept it. Instead, I knew that everything was going to be okay. I had fun. I dropped the entire thing. I didn't allow myself to worry about it. And then the bridge of events happened where a manufacturer came in. I had an option that I could have gone with. And because I had no resistance around the situation anymore, and I just sat with it, I sat in my power and in my trust, knowing that God, universe, source, infinite intelligence, source was handling everything, not as a separate entity, but this was God's business. What you do, your relationships, they're God's businesses, they're God's relationships. You're the vessel. So I knew that it was going to be worked out. It was going to be okay. And then boom, the problem literally resolved itself. The circumstance dissolved. I didn't conform to the patterns of the world. I transformed myself by the renewing of my mind. Okay. So anyway, I intend and I hope that this video was of some value to you guys. Please affirm down below. I realize and understand that my circumstances were just an old manifestation and they don't matter. Reach out to me if you need me. I love you so much. I hope that this video helps. Bye.
Nothing can come, nothing can come, nothing can come between us.